Hi, welcome to the Artis with Ivy Reiss. My name is Ivy Reiss, and we are the 905 and GTA's Art and Culture Show. We're back with another episode. Today, our guest is Valentino Assenza. He is a veteran, spoken word veteran on the GTA scene for over 20 years and host of Howl Radio, which is at CIUT 89.5 FM, which is an art and culture program. We're going to start off with Val performing a poem for us, and then we're going to chat about then and now, his upcoming collection, his Italian heritage, and the cultural scene as it was in the 90s compared to now, Europe versus here. It's a fabulous 15 minutes we've got planned for you. The first poem that Valentino is going to do for us is called The Sower, and is a poem about mentorship, fatherhood, and sowing the seeds for creativity. Everyone, let's hear Val.
You told me to come by and look at the sunflowers. You said you wanted me to see what I had planted. You said that some of them had grown 7 feet tall and that I had to see it for myself. Your backyard incubated the small relationship I had with flowers. Sunflowers. They were my favorite because they have obvious personalities and it seems like they're always in good moods. The picture showed a big, happy family with big yellow smiles. I remember that day, followed it, glided on its timeline as though it was how it was supposed to have happened. You were hobbled. Perhaps it was an overexertion of passion or creativity. I carried the heavy bags of soil to the backyard. You showed me how deep to dig, to spread the soil out evenly, and how delicately to let the seeds fall from my hands. Later, we chewed through medium-well steak and buttered potatoes and allowed ourselves the luxury of profanity in our conversation. Through 2 fingers of scotch in black and white on a projection screen, we watched Buster Keaton exude the locomotive that is the General. I left that night to a walk along still air. I levitated just above my mattress, kept fatigue at bay, and thought about the relationships between gardens, parents, and their children. How my grandfather used to always hold up his tomato plants with hockey sticks I wished I could have used. How I always ran from my mother at the first mention of gardening. How, while Vito Corleone was playing in the garden with his grandson, he passed away. And how when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he did what his dad told him and followed the passion of prophecy. And tonight, while looking at the pictures of sunflowers, I remark at your ability to cross realms and enter other dimensions. I know that it's not so accessible, that it's a tongue spell or a lost symbol that opens up that door, and I picture you there, playing possum with Buddha, flirting with truth, and waiting for the sorceress's robes to blow open. Somewhere in those confines is the garden untouched by the seeds my father and I had never sown. But there is a trail of footprints visible. I know there was a time when God took you by the hand, showed you how to spread the earth evenly, how deep to dig, and how delicately to let the seeds fall from your hands. It came in the form of ink droplets and precious virgin thoughts. And I know there'll be a time when the telescope will point in the other direction. God will take you by the hand and show you how you connected the celestial dots in your sleep and then present you with one of your very own. There'll be a mirror in the sky for when you reach that certain altitude, and you'll hear his voice calling you. He'll tell you that you have to come over, that you have to see it for yourself, and he'll take you by the hand and show you what you planted.
Hi everyone, we're back. That was Valentino Assenza. He just performed his poem, The Sower, which will be on his upcoming collection. But I'll let him tell you more about that. The upcoming collection is called Through Painted Eyes. And what I loved about it, Val, was, well, I'm kind of wearing sunflowers right now, if anyone can see. But anyway. So, tell us a little bit about, you've been on the 905 and GTA art and culture scene for over 20 years. And somehow recently you found yourself, it's been about 3 years, I shouldn't even say recently, found yourself hosting Howl Radio CIUT FM, and which is focused on art culture with a very strong undercurrent for the written word. And I know you have an upcoming collection. So I think let's talk a little bit about what your radio show does, because it truly is special. It's one of the most important radio shows in Ontario. It's publicly funded. And then we'll move into your art and the observations, your Italian heritage. You just got back from Sicily, so there's a lot to talk about in about 12 minutes.
Okay, all right. So Howl was sort of a serendipitous thing in the way that it came to me. For years I'd been friends with Nick Beat, and he unfortunately passed away in the fall of 2014, and everybody was wondering who would take his spot. And at first I didn't really think about applying for it, but then there was a great number of people in the community that encouraged me to, and to the point where they were actually writing the program director. So
Howl Radio's been around about 20 years too, hasn't it?
yeah, it was originally started by Nick Beat and Stephen Humphrey, I think in the mid-90s, and it's existed since then. And for the longest time it was hosted by Nick and Nancy Bullis, who's still hosting now. So yeah, we're more interested in the writing aspect of anything. So I guess if you wrote it, then we're interested in it.
Songwriters too.
Yeah, the reason why it's called Howl, not just because it's inspired by, I guess, the Ginsberg poem, but it's all encompassing. So we have to play Canadian content in the hour. We have to play like 3 songs, I guess, in the hour. So we'll have songwriters on the show. We've had playwrights on the show. Of course, nonfiction books, novels, and poets as well. So it we'll go as broad as we can. So long as you wrote it, then we want to know about it. Yeah, it's once a week. I don't host every week. I share the hosting duties with Nancy Bullis. She hosts one week, I host another week. Okay. Tuesday nights from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. And you can either find it on your radio dial, CIUT 89.5 FM, or you can go to www.ciut.fm and you can listen live online.
Cool. That's easy from someone's phone or whatever, right?
For sure. And you can actually download our latest show from the Howl page. So if you go to CIUT.fm and you look for shows, go to Howl, you can listen to the latest show that's up.
Was the latest one with Brandon?
No, that was the week before.
Oh, okay.
The latest one was with Nancy Bullis. Actually interviewed members of the Kensington Market Jazz Festival.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Leila
That's a big
Bialy
deal.
was on there, and Billy Newton Davis was on there. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's not just poets. We kind of get ourselves out of our comfort zone by interviewing all kinds of different names and genres.
I think that's the key for any art, for any artist, art-inspired stuff. If you take yourself outside of a comfort zone, then it continues to grow.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's probably why the show's been around for over 20 years.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's a recognized thing, right? And we're always flattered. We're always busy with requests to be on the show to promote something, or to, if someone's up and coming and they want exposure. It could be anyone established, as established as, Margaret Atwood. I got to interview her a couple years ago.
Oh, cool.
To anybody that's just starting
emerging,
out.
or I think the lady who won the Marty Awards for emerging literary artist, Michelle Hilliard, was on your show.
Yes,
she was.
And
I
that's
was
right.
at the Martys with her as
well.
well.
Yeah, it was a fun interview. Michelle's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And Paul Edward Coster's on there too, I think.
Yes, yeah. Actually,
another emerging literary artist. Yeah,
right after her, we had him on. Yeah.
So that was for the May 10th Marty Awards 24th annual. Fabulous group of artists that were there. So you get a lot of big names on the show, and it's a publicly funded radio station, which I think makes it's special because it's not dictated by. It's important rather, because it's not dictated by advertisers. So how do people support Howl Radio if they want to be a part? I know a few years ago you had to run a campaign to get better transponders. which that was sorted out, thankfully, and reception's great. But people can be a member, or what can they do?
Yeah, so I mean, we typically have it's community funded, and we have 2 fundraisers per year. We have a spring membership drive and a fall membership drive. And to be a member, it's $89.50
For a full year?
for a full year.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and you get a card, and there's perks to it as well, right? Like, I guess for me, one of the things that I take advantage of is that you can have 2-for-1 movies at the Carlton Cinema.
That's
so
nice.
you show your card and
And you're guaranteed a spot on Howl FM if you're a member?
well, that would be a long list.
10-year wait list?
It definitely, it's more in your favor if you do donate than if you don't.
All right. Note to artists out there.
That's right.
And that's cool, though. 2-for-1 at the Carlton Cinema.
Yeah, it's great.
And again,
It's
that's
great.
supporting small cinema. Not, I'm all about small business.
For sure.
Just like that.
I mean, it is a Cineplex owned cinema,
Oh,
but
okay,
it's still a cool little cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's old school.
For sure.
Okay, and so $89 for a full year membership, lots of perks. They can do that on the website?
Yes, yeah. You can always donate or become a member all year
Okay.
round. It doesn't have to just be during the membership drives. You can always become a member.
All right, cool. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about your upcoming book, and then we'll wrap the show with one more poem from Val's upcoming book. And I should mention that the one he did read at the beginning, The Sower, was also from his upcoming collection, so that was a special sneak peek to our viewers. And so you just got back from Sicily, and you have really strong Italian heritage. You've been a veteran on the scene for over 22 years as an artist. And also, what's interesting about that is that I've known you for a few years, but I've only found this out recently. You were growing up part of the time as an adolescent and young man in Italy, and then in Italy and in Toronto. And that really has influenced your art, your personality, obviously your views on life. Maybe that's why you were so sought after to be the host of Howl FM.
Maybe.
Like, seriously though, you're a good talker. You understand art, and you just got back from a really long trip. And you've got 3 chapbooks, I believe, right?
I have 4 chapbooks.
Okay, 4 chapbooks.
Wandering Absence and Il Ritorno were published by Labor of Love Press. That was run by Norman Christofoli.
Yes.
And the last 2 chapbooks that I have were with Lyrical Miracle Press. One was Quiet Confessions of a Loudmouth, and the last one was Make Our Peace with Rattlesnakes.
Very good.
So Through
I
Painted
like that
Eyes
title.
is... Oh, thank you.
I like that.
Through Painted Eyes is my first full-length book, and it's coming out with Piquant Press.
I like that title too.
Through Painted Eyes, yeah.
What's the meaning behind that?
So, okay, the first chapbook I ever released was called Wandering Absence, and my last name, Assenza, in
Yes.
Italian means absence.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
That's so cool.
my mom's side of the family, their last name is Occhipinti. Occhipinti. And Occhipinti in Italian means painted eyes. So the book is called Through Painted Eyes. It's sort of like an acknowledgement of both sides of my family.
Yeah, you're seeing it through your mother's eyes.
And in fact,
of course,
yeah.
your last name
Yeah.
acknowledges the father's side, obviously, because you're
Yeah.
born by your father's last name.
So I mean, it takes into account that Sicilian name, but it's like sort of translated in English, and it's and the beginning of it has an epigraph saying how I see this life through painted eyes, and it is it's as you had mentioned before, my mom and dad divorced when I was 4 years old, and my dad moved back to Sicily after they separated. And every year from when I was 5 years old until when I was 20, and my entire summers were spent there living with him.
And what year was that, just for context, when you were 4 or 5? If you don't want, you're
well,
kind of timeless.
I think I was 81. I think it was 81,
Okay,
1981.
so things are very different then.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, the wall hadn't even fallen yet.
No, well, I mean, that was in Berlin.
I know, but
right?
still,
Yeah.
obviously, Europe changed.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
Thereafter.
one thing that has stayed, I guess the significant thing about it is that all the relatives and friends that I made there over the years are still there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I went back this year, and it was a significant thing that many of the relatives are still there. Of course, some have passed on or some have moved on. But it's always very emotional for me because I go back there, and it literally is a second home. And
so you were there every summer growing up,
yeah,
and then back in Toronto going to school from age 4 or 5 until, I guess, till you graduated high school or whatever.
Well, it was actually I would have kept going every year, but my dad actually passed away when I was 20 years old.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I haven't gone with as much frequency. But still, I mean, the relationships there were significant, as were the memories. And it was all, to me, I thought it was always an interesting thing how from fall until spring I'd have this sort of Canadian mindset, and then in the summer it would be this Sicilian mindset. It was always just so bizarre to me that I'd have these
It's almost dual lives.
Yeah, it was very much so, and you know,
you're fluent in Italian as well.
And Sicilian, yeah, I'm fluent in Italian and even Sicilian dialect
too. Which is very
too.
different, that dialect.
Yeah, and I mean it's weird. It's like a lot of people will ask, do you hate the fact that your parents separated? And I mean, would I have loved them to stay together? Sure, but if it wasn't working, I understand why they separated, and here it is that I got to live my life between these two really interesting places, and I still retain the memories from that, and that's what Through Painted Eyes is completely centering on.
That's really cool. And I mean, that's it's powerful because, especially, I think, well, that type of experience sort of definitely affected your art, your mentality.
For sure.
Which you've been creating your whole life.
For sure.
And what I mean, even with your dad passing on at the age of when you were 20, the sower talks about being nurtured, as I mentioned at the beginning, but it's interesting, you know, you've been nurtured by other mentors and growing up in father figures. I know Norman Christoffoli was a huge mentor for you.
That's actually who the sower is about.
Yes.
And it's an interesting thing because Norman Christoffoli,
who ran Labor of Love magazine as well for 20 years.
He saw me at an open mic when I was 18 years old, and he published me.
Nice.
And I always to this day say that there are coincidences, and maybe it is a coincidence, but for me, I feel that it was an interesting thing that I met Norman Christoffoli at that moment, 2 years before my dad passed away, and that I've stayed friends with him, and he has been a mentor. He really has. So that poem was...
He has been a mentor to many people on the scene.
And that poem was literally around a time where he had hip replacement surgery, and he needed help planting flowers. So he asked me to come over and help. Mm-hmm. And me, who did not have a green thumb, found that simple act just... it was one of the most organic poems that's ever come out. And I just thought it was a really beautiful thing, and it made me think of gardens, right, parents and their children, and things growing, and yeah, well, it was just, for me, it was just, it's one of my favorite poems.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting to me about it is how you yourself have, by hosting Howl Radio, which you do as a volunteer position, I'd like to tell our viewers, totally volunteering for that. Everybody who works at Howl Radio is a volunteer. And also by participating in the art and culture community, by being an artist, by getting out there, everything you've done sows sowing seeds. You're giving with the show. You're giving people the opportunity to present their work, build a platform, showcase established artists, and help emerging artists showcase their work. And you are sowing the seeds for art and culture to continue growing. It's almost like, you pass it on. And right. I think that the layers of meaning within a poem like that can go on and are relatable. And it just speak to humanity in itself with that, Definitely. Generally when acts of kindnesses are given or experienced, they're passed on. So
for sure.
It's that's what's really cool about it. Now, you wanted to do another poem for us.
Yeah, I can.
And we'll do that in a minute. But let's your book. So that's coming out with Piquant Press, and you're thinking it was going to be in fall 2018.
So yes, an exact date has not yet been established.
That's okay. That's the publishing world sometimes.
I think it's going to be sometime in the fall. I'm thinking September or October. But James Dewar and Sue Reynolds, who run Piquant Press, and they're fabulous people, I'm gonna be launching with the other people that they're publishing also. I'm not sure who it is, but I'm really excited about it, and it's
How
been,
many pages or poems in it?
Yeah, it's about 100 pages worth of poems
Very
in there.
nice.
And I've kept a lid on a lot of them because there are a lot of pieces in there that I have not yet shared.
Yep.
So I'm really anxious to share a lot of the stuff that has been in the works for as long as it has, but hasn't yet been shared.
Absolutely. So just want to let our viewers know, you can email Valentino. We're going to post it on the screen, and I think it's valentino.a@simpatico.ca.
That's correct, yes.
And you can also find him on Facebook at Valentino Assenza.
Yeah, I'm also on Twitter at Val Assenza. And Howl also is on Twitter as well at Howl895FM.
Awesome. And that way you can email him, reach out to him on Facebook, find out about how to get on his show, find out about getting a membership, and also find out where he reads next, hear more of his poems, see him live. He's always on the scene.
Can I just mention, I actually am reading next week at the Transac as part of Glenn Hornblast's event. And I think myself and Heather Babcock are also going to be reading there too.
So, and Max Layton will be hosting that with Robert Priest, I imagine, right?
Wicked.
So that's fabulous. So next week at the Transat, do you know the exact date offhand?
Yeah, it's Saturday, August 25th, I believe.
Yep,
Yes.
Saturday, August 25th at 7 p.m.
No, it's in the afternoon at the Transac from 1 to 4 p.m.
Okay, so from 1 to 4.
Might be a different. I don't know if it's a different event that Max is hosting.
That's okay. Val will be at the Transac on Saturday the 26th, and you can find out more about that on his Facebook and Twitter. I'm sure it'll be there. Tune in, hear him on Howl Radio on which nights?
Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. at night, and it's CIUT 89.5 FM.
Or listen online. And we're going to wrap this episode with one more poem from his new collection that will be launching in the fall through Painted Eyes. The name of the poem, I believe, is Don't Look Back.
That's right.
All right, everyone, give us a moment while he gets back on the stage. And thank you so much for joining us. This was another episode of The Artis with Ivy Reiss. And our special guest today was Valentino Assenza.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Val.
In the bottom of a box collecting dust is a tin with a Super 8 film of the ceremony. There is no sound except the rotating reels putting in motion the inevitable. In front of a gate with a black car moving through it, the bride, the groom, the two of them hand in hand, looking back at the camera. It was a sunny day. No black suit is built for a Sicilian sun, even on a wedding day. Snap. You could say the picture was iconic. No need to blink or time for the eyes to adjust. The flash was off. Hold it. Just one more. The photographer had it all wrong. His pose was to have I sposi turn around, looking back. I would have said, face forward, stand tall, stand proud, smile, don't look back. There is nothing for you beyond that gate. A prematurely setting sun, a palm tree catching what was left of the breeze, a man fleeing the country, a woman sitting on a fence, a lost little boy trying to find his way. The congregation's expression is consistent with the weeping angels painted above and the Roman soldiers in the stations of the cross on the walls. The mother of the groom is stone-faced. The father of the bride, a stern nervousness. The women fanning themselves are near synchronized, and the men repeatedly ruin the flawless white of their handkerchiefs across their brows. The bride and groom have their backs to the camera. Perhaps if they turned around, we'd be able to hear something. Maybe if they faced forward, we'd be able to clearly hear the priest's words rather than guess. Ave Maria. Maybe if we saw her face even through the veil, we'd be able to make out the occasional cough interrupting the benediction. Pieno di grazia. Maybe if we saw the nervous squint beneath his glasses and the half smile beneath his mustache, we could hear uncomfortable shifting in the cradle of ancient pews. Il Signore è con te. Instead, during the exchange of vows was the ever-present vow of silence. What happened after the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? What happened after the celebratory exodus and confetti littered the ancient steps? What happened after the black car passed through the gate? I could tell you that the man found a quiet place to lay low, but I won't tell you where. I could tell you that the woman leapt off the fence, but I won't tell you which side. I could tell you that the lost little boy found some shade under an olive branch, but I won't tell you which tree. What I can tell you is afterwards, like the stars shone and made their mark on the night sky, after the dawn rose its orange sun and ignited a new day, the photographer took apart his camera and put it in its case, and eventually they all learned to face forward.
And thank you so much, Valentino Assenza. That was his poem, Don't Look Back. And you can find the Tranzac Club. It is spelled Tranzac at tranzac.org. And you can check out all of their weekly shows on their program right there. You can check Valentino out on the 26th of August, and you can check out when Max Layton hosts his show there as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon. Have a great afternoon.